You know, I would like to sit up and say the peace greeting, but even though you and my audience are not the problem, the one about whom I'm going to speak, I'm not speaking to her, but the one about whom I'm going to speak would say that that's inappropriate. Maybe she'd have a point. Let's go ahead and get into this right quick, not waste any time. If we look at what Smiles and the Twisted Idea has done and is doing, well, has done, I want you to stop and think not so much about her, really. But if you look at what she has said, what she has openly talked about, and if you look at what Anon and LSM tolerated, not so much what they said, well, a little bit of what they said, but more of what they tolerated when they knew it was being said in the chat, versus what they did not tolerate and who they banned, this would justify the craziest, zaniest, no-tepest, pro-wackest conspiracy theory anybody could concoct. The golden sphere is just here to divide the black population. Goddamn! They justified somebody saying this stuff. The manosphere is just here to turn a bunch of black men GAY. Hold up. Can we actually locate a link between such an agenda and the manosphere with SYSBM along with them? Lump them two together. If they're not the same, then lump them together and see, can you justify, can you say that there is a link between the GAY agenda and that? No. We don't have to agree or disagree with people that are actually a part of the alphabet orientations. Doesn't matter. We're not with that agenda. What we're here to do is to not have to suffer at the mercy of the gynocrat, the hyena. Are you gonna tolerate you gonna eat what I put on this plate? You know that, you know what I mean. Well, let's see, that's different. But you see, that forms a link. Smiles and a Twisted Idea. And understand there's somebody with whom she used to converse. Screenshots are there. Somebody with whom she used to converse actually did say some stuff that was anti-black to Brady Hartsfield. Now, I don't have the screenshots, but Brady did tell me that this guy said this stuff. Smiles was cool with him. And I can understand what some of this has been about, and I'm going to come back to that later on, inshallah. But let me tell y'all straight like this, though. Let me tell y'all, folks, look, sad as it is, this is a justification of the zaniest. And notice, I'm not saying pro-black, but I'm specifying pro-whack, no-tep, zany conspiracy theory that anybody could concoct. You can make a satire out of it. Some Oswald Bates type ideas. And they justified it. You don't believe me? You say, well, I mean, she just was trying to pretend because she was looking for acceptance. So if you say that, which could be the case, let me explain something else to you. I heard Lashid say that she tried to blame a particular crime on black men with no evidence of the perpetrator being black. This is where it gets different. I wound up finding, and someone did help me to find this, but I wound up finding what Lashid was talking about. What Lashid said, I now have in black and white, all puns intended. Smiles and a Twisted Idea left a comment underneath an article about a crime committed maybe sometime in April in 2021 in Seattle. The lady was a victim named Stephanie Deo. I don't remember if she was actually violated or not, but she was knocked upside her head. She didn't see who did it. She got hit. Here's the funny and sad thing about it. Nobody saw who did it. She didn't see who did it. She didn't remember it. The officer that showed up took a statement from her, took a statement from her boyfriend, never ran a background check on either of them just to rule out, domestic violence histories or anything like that. Smiles and a Twisted Idea came in and left a comment underneath that was very right-wing, alt-white, as my father would call it, and then left another one. And when a black man named James Kemp came along and said, wait a minute, you know that in that part of town, it's likely the perpetrator was white and got rejected at the bar that Stephanie Dale was in, she was like, no, stupid, stop lying, I live there. Oh, so James Kemp is right off the bat stupid and lying. Well, do you know him? You see, this is that mindset. Didn't even change her identity. Made me wonder if she's sock. But then again, maybe he went up on his own and spoke and proved that they weren't together. But as much as she loves to accuse everybody of being Fran, and assuming that everyone that disagrees with her is monoracial, dark-skinned, unambiguous. Now we know why she was always doing that. Because she was monoracial, white, unambiguous. And that's okay for her to be such and still advocate if she's really convinced of the righteousness of that for which she advocates. But as we see, that must not have been the case. Because when she's sitting up here trying to just, stoke up everybody's assumption that the perpetrator must have been black, do you think she favor Guck if everybody went out and lynched or used the legal system to legally lynch a golden man, an obsidian man, an onyx man, a copper man? You think a chocolate man, you think that she favor Guck which one? See, Carl Williams was right about something. Carl said, even if you're going to fight against being mistreated by people in the BC that hate you, the fact remains. Carl was right about this. He said, the fact remains you still will have white supremacist racists. They're going to come against you because of your black blood. Wear it proudly in their faces and fight them back. Shout out to Brother Williams for saying that. Boy, how appropriate that statement wound up being. We really do owe, I can't say we including myself, but yeah, a lot of us do owe Fran an apology, not for being malicious per se, but for letting somebody just tell us what to think. And I understand that when she's, not Fran, but when Smile sent some photos of a lady she identified as a grandmother, I understand to a certain extent that the evidence Fran had she did not send out. And I know why Fran didn't do it. She didn't want to dox other people. I get it. She and I are roughly the same age, and a lot of people our age don't know how to do what I know how to do on computers, and I don't know how to do stuff that some people that are a little bit younger than me know how to do on computers. I mean, some folks know how to just sit at a terminal and click and find your IP address from which you left a comment. There's a way to do it. I don't know it, but there's a way. They know how to do it. I just know it exists, but I don't know it. I know how to blur out stuff and not have to pay any money to do it to get things blurred out. I understand that. Fran may not have. And for her to get someone to show her how to do that, they would have had to see the images, and Fran ain't want to risk doxing other people. I'm pretty sure that's what the case was. Because, I know that just from coming from the same age group. So I understand why she didn't send what she did have. So I get that a lot of us looked at the time and said, well, the evidence we have wins out by default. I just happen to be someone to whom she sent what she had, and I wasn't going to publicize it for the sake of not doxing anybody else. And before some of you decide to go in, because I followed the lead that Lashid said it, so I went and looked, had a little help. I ain't going to say who, but I had a little help in finding it. I understand why Lashid didn't do it. Why she didn't put it out there, but I went ahead and found it. Thank you, Lashid, for at least mentioning it. Now, you didn't put the evidence out there like I've been asking, but I found that. So at least I can say I know your butt wasn't lying either. Yeah, I get that. You didn't lie. Now we got to start questioning the interest of the folks that really come out and ride the hardest with nobody vetting them. She was vetted by her advocacy. And I'm not going to front. I was one that would have said, if she really meant it, that's cool. Just don't lie about your origin. But now I see, in light of other screenshots I got, now I see, man, she ain't mean to advocate for us. And the thing is this, some people have said, well, you know, Smile's lying about being married because she's Christian. No, it turns out apparently she had some kind of ceremony. If she's not married according to the state, then she at least is married according to her faith. There's some sort of ceremony. And I'm not going to lie, I saw photos of that. I didn't save them, I couldn't, but I did see them. And it was actually Lashid that said, no, she did get married. She's not lying about that. So Lashid exonerated her from one of the rumors. Now, I don't want to make this too long, but I'm going to say this right quick. We are not here. As much as Smiles and a Twisted Idea wanted to make sure that we all knew that we're not here to perpetrate, black supremacy and all that other stuff. Okay, fine. I'm going to make sure that we ain't here to perpetrate white supremacy, or perpetuate it, I should say. And frankly, I know most of you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check even some of the subconscious ideas we might have. And I say we because we've been indoctrinated. We do come from a white supremacist nation. If you patriotic or you not, the fact is we do come from it. It's not the only nation with a white supremacist teaching. Call it what it is. I know it's not. And one of the reasons I know it's not is because where I live, white supremacy is not in a legal system per se. In these countries over here, you call a black person a slave, and you can wind up having to pay well over 10,000 US dollars in a fine, depending on which nation it is and how many witnesses there are. The funny thing is, racism is not even illegal in Tunisia, last I heard, which is on African soil. But you come into the Arabian Peninsula, which is next to African soil. Some would say it's an extension of Africa. I used to think it was on the same African continental shelf till I found out that it's actually its own continental shelf. Okay, all right, fine. But the point I'm making is right next to the continent. Here, you put it into practice, it's illegal. If you put it into labeling, it's illegal. It just takes witnesses to prove. But in some cases, judges might say, well, we're going to go according to the custom. And when he called you a slave, it just meant black. It doesn't actually mean somebody owned you. And they might exonerate someone. My answer to that is, okay, well, I'm going to call him a bomb belt wearing tourist. You know, the other T word ist. Now, does a custom allow that? And that's when I say the white supremacy's here. It's not legal, but it's even in the subconscious minds of people here that can be conservative Muslims. So I know it's there in the States. Because over here, they're appalled to hear about the legal segregation that the United States had. One guy who called us slaves one time, and I retaliated by calling him the T word ist. Just to show him, teach him a lesson. He even said to me, I can't believe that in your nation, restaurants were segregated. And I said, yeah, they were. And he said, we would have never thought of something like that here. And I was like, I know. That's what makes y'all different. That's why I'm safe over here. Clearly, I'm safe here. I've had cops stop me, and it had nothing to do with being, of course, I'm not always recognizable, but it had nothing to do with me being black. It didn't even have to do with me being Western. Once I was about to speed through a checkpoint because I thought it was empty. It was a checkpoint. I really didn't see any officers moving. He let me go. Another time, we all had to wear masks here. And I would have had to pay $266 US. But I had my mask in my hand because I was eating ice cream. Called me over. My wife said to him, no. It's legal for him to have his mask off if he's eating, and y'all know that. And the man said it is legal, but he'd have to stand off the sidewalk and let people pass at a distance. Then it's legal. She said, well, if he knew that, he would have stood off. We would have stood off the sidewalk at a distance from everybody. We just really didn't know. Now, if you all don't publicize these laws and you don't tell anybody until somebody's obeying the law they do know, then that actually does make a case against you. And so the man said, all right, never mind. Take your ID back, no fine this time. She talked me out of tickets twice. Didn't have to do with me being black. Not at all. But I know that we're coming out of a white supremacist nation, and we don't have time. And people will sit up and say, this ain't about no black supremacy. Yeah, okay, fine, I get it. But now you understand, every one of you that knows me understands why I'm going to double check anything that seems to be white supremacist on the surface that might pop up. And most of you will not promote stuff like that. Some of you thought that Hybrid was like, well, I'm more intelligent because I've got white blood. Hybrid never said that that being of white blood makes you more intelligent. Hybrid was talking about studies once that shows that people whose parents are very different from each other genetically tend to have more intelligent kids. And that it generally tends to be true, actually. Because I teach several students whose parents are first cousins. They ain't retarded, but boy, goodness gracious, man. Some of that stupidity is environmental. But by the same token, I teach students whose parents are very genetically different from each other. They ain't from the same tribe. Might both be Arab, but from different countries. And they're sharp. And they look and say, no, man, these folks are just dumb. My parents are genetically different from each other. Though they're both MGM, light skinned and mostly black, as far as we know, they're still genetically different from each other. And they trace back to find out. My intelligence is normal. My brother's sharp. My dad's parents are genetically different from each other. He's a genius, as long as he's not angry. My mother's sharp. Her parents are genetically different from each other. I don't even think they're 1% related. So if these were actually white supremacist talking points, and I've asked questions to make sure, and I'm gonna do that in the future before I assume, but when someone says something that's actually white supremacist, I'm gonna check you on it, even if you're a friend of mine. And that's why the two things I'm gonna check, and as I've always said, there's a middle road between two extremes, and the extremes are usually where you got the danger. Between that alt-right, right-wing extra conservatism that is very white-friendly, and in between outright liberalism, in which there are hardly any more boundaries that are unacceptable. There's a middle ground, and I'm gonna check y'all on it. I'm not necessarily going to just enforce my own views, but I am going to ask, did you look at the opposite and see where the middle ground is? Because if not, you will wind up saying something that's white supremacist and you don't even know it. If I don't check myself, I might do it without any training. Because there are times that POC, period, black folk, any admixture, and other folks just get on my further-mucking nerves. The difference between me and someone else is that when POC get on my nerves, I turn around and I find out why it's doing something that gets on my nerves as well. Analogous or as a replacement to what it is that POC do. POC love to stunt on each other all the time, always showing off. That's a POC trait. Don't sit up and say that's just black folk. No. We do it a little worse, but that's a POC trait. A lot of Chinese and Korean families in America are up to their ears in debt trying to keep up appearances. Then the husband dies and the debt collectors come. And that's when it gets exposed. A lot of us didn't know that. Mess around here. Mess around and go into some other communities. Boy, look, Arabs. Boy, you think that we are so dysfunctional and black folk can't ever keep a business running? Go watch an Arab open up a business and sit down in there and watch Arabs come in and try to get the hookup. Like they just gonna eat for free or use it for free. I kid you not. Go to Dearborn, Michigan. You're gonna have Arab-owned barbershops. Guess what? You're gonna have Arabs walking in there. And God forbid they're from the same nationality, but they don't know each other. Boy, you're gonna have some trifling people walking in expecting a free haircut. You think it's just black folk. For the nuck, it's not. And this is where we actually are going to be able to learn from real pro-black folks that were advocating back in the day. They believed in education, intellectualism. They didn't know everything, but they didn't believe in being stupid and running off on pseudoscience. Now you got no-tep pro-wax like Ayanna trying to justify hybristophilia by saying that, the real alpha black men are locked up and in prison all the time. If you a free black man, ain't never been to jail or prison, you just ain't alpha. I kid you not. She's sitting up and saying in the name of pro-blackness that the hybristophilic instinct in some women and the hybristophilic socialization in many Western sisters is justified. Oh, that's nature. You effing kidding me? That sort of thing exists in other areas too. You know where I gotta go in other countries to find that sort of attitude? The slums. It's there, but I gotta go to slums to find that. I'm not gonna find that sort of thing in a non-slum area where I live. I can go into Black America and find that in the furthermucking suburbs. Oh, it ain't just the Huxtable girls that want that. The Cosby girls might want that. I don't mean actually Bill Cosby's daughters, but what I'm saying is even the black elite, the billionaires, same furthermucking thing. A billionaire, she wants a man that's a street thug. That's what I'm talking about. And if we ain't careful, when this thing does grow big enough to where real paid agents are given assignments to try to derail this sort of thing using social media, we won't be ready for it. Because this time we were small and we weren't even ready for a non-paid person who was just doing agents' work for free because she believed in what she was doing and was off a rocker for whatever reason. You think Rachel Dollar's always paid to do what she did? U.S. government didn't pay her for that. She's not an agent. I mean, she's doing an agent's work, but she ain't a paid agent. And look what she did. Look at the damage Rachel Dolezal 2.0 just did. I mean, it's not enough to throw everything out of whack, but understand, look at the mess. And this is someone that would say, exonerate black men for things they did not do. And I appreciate her saying that, but I mean, in the end, what was the reason? Because in front of us, she would say that. And then turn around and go on a website, a news website, and assert an assumption that a black man committed a crime that's not even being investigated. As the proof of there's no white privilege and that's black supremacy. Oh, God. That's not just Rachel Dolezal 2.0. That's Carolyn Bryant Jr. We're gonna have to be ready for stuff like this, and this is where that middle ground is gonna come in. Opposing political views, you know what? Hear them both out. You'll find out that there's some, most of you will say there's a middle ground in between, and you'll find it yourself. I wouldn't even have to say anything. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out. Till next time.